Thank you. Okay, we have got a quorum and it is 6:04, so I am calling this meeting to order. Those who choose to can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, so you can stay seated for silent meditation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up is the acceptance of minutes from the March 2026 regular monthly business meeting. Everyone has had a chance to review. I would go ahead and take a motion to approve them. Thank you, Barbara. Do you have a second? Awesome, Joe.
We don't have to, we're just like, if you
I always,
have anything. that
I'm
needs to be
sorry,
changed.
do you have anything that needs to be changed? No. Okay, then they are approved by acclamation. Okay. Do we have any public input to share?
We do. I'll begin with one of the lengthier ones, dated April 9th. Dear Guilderland Public Library Board of Trustees, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for hosting the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance VITA program. Your support and partnership, along with that of the library staff, played a key role in the success of the 2025 tax season held at the library. 7 volunteer tax preparers were able to serve over 203 taxpayers with a total of 182 tax returns completed. The average adjusted gross income of taxpayers served was $43,061, with total refunds of $215,025. The library staff were extremely helpful and supportive for the entire tax season. Christina Ronald, Sean Silvernail, and I began meeting in December 2025 to establish the schedule and reserve rooms, and they assisted throughout the season. The Adult Information and Circulation Desk staff supported the effort by distributing the tax packets to taxpayers prior to their appointment. Sean Silvernail, Trevor, and I mentioned Paul, but I believe that's Tom, supported our IT needs, which were greater than usual this season. Jason and Layla, building maintenance staff, also provided outstanding support. Once again, thank you for supporting the VITA program. We value our relationship and hope we can work together next year. With gratitude, April Richardson Moore, local coordinator. From our comment cards, thank you so much for the activities you offer at Guilderland Library. I enjoy the book clubs and art hobbies. Please offer more of these activities. The librarians are awesome and creative. Thank you so much for all of your efforts. Unnamed. I have really enjoyed all of the activities offered in the evenings the last few months. Hope to see more on the calendar in the future. There isn't much to sign up for in the coming months. Please bring them back. I'd like to be part of the library community. So unnamed. And then finally, this one was directed to me. Hi, Pete. Thanks once again for all that your employees have done to make the GPL so welcoming and lovely. I want to offer a small token of my appreciation for you to use in any way that you like. Many thanks, Jean. P.S. I have made provisions for the GPL to receive money as one of my beneficiaries and would like at some point to have something that acknowledges the gift in memory of my parents, Ray and Madeline Lemire, who loved education. I've been in contact with her, so we'll be happy to follow up on that.
I guess it is. Okay. Perfect. Thanks for sharing that, Pete. So we have 2 personnel actions on the agenda for this month. I'm going to read them both and then I will ask for a motion after that. The first is to accept the termination of employment of Adriana Primit, custodial broker, effective March 27th, 2026. And the second is to accept the change of status of Alexandra Gibson from temporary librarian 1 to full-time benefits eligible outreach librarian 1, effective April 15th, 2026. Do I have a motion to accept the personnel actions? Thanks, Joe. Do we have a second? Okay, thanks, Bill. Is there any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the personnel actions? Okay. Over to you, George, for the treasurer's report.
Thank you. So in your packets, we'll look at the statement of revenue and expenses and changes in that position. We reviewed this Tuesday night at the Finance Committee, and there wasn't anything too unusual. We did talk a little bit, the tax levy. We had said that we were expecting the next one. I think Pete did pick that up and took care of that. And I think I made a comment that we hadn't heard about any tax certiorari cases or reductions. And I think there was some very slight reductions of like $1,300 or something, which is pretty small compared to what we got hit with several years ago. So that will all be accounted for in the next financial statements. There were a couple of I would call them timing issues. For example, on line 15, building maintenance. We're catching up with the third of 3 snow removal payments of just over $2,000 and had an annual fire inspection for $1,100. And the town required all the residents of, everybody in Guilderland to replace the water meters. And if you were a resident, it was free, but if you have a business and your meter's more than 2 inches, you have to pay for it. And that was about $2,600. So, I would consider most of those just timing differences, which did cost us to be about $4,000 unfavorable. Colleen has made some adjustments to more properly categorize some expenses. So line 18 is showing a negative number. And I think it went up into line 14, which is a little bit unfavorable. But I think other than that, interest income is doing very well. Year to date, we've been favorable. So I think that, we're doing very well. On the flip side, is the balance sheet. It's exactly what should happen. Cash and investments went down by about $296,000 to fund operations because we didn't get any tax levy money in the month of May. Next month, it won't be quite as much of a decrease, but we had more expenses than income in March of about $293,000. So that essentially funded that. I think that's all I have to say. Are there any questions on the financial statements?
Just a question on, I guess, combine the check register and that. There was a bill for like $2,900 for a water meter replacement.
That was it. No, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see that
How
up.
come we paid?
So that's the one that if you're a business, you had to pay for your own. The town required you to replace it. But we have to pay for it because I guess businesses own it. Whereas at my house, they came and did it for
Right,
free.
that's what I was wondering, okay.
Yeah. I thought that was odd, but
Yeah,
that forced me to look at the invoice just to read the story. And I think they were gonna fine us if we didn't do it by a certain date, like, let's say $750 or something. So, yeah.
Because my first question is, do we have to do this? And the answer is yes.
I just mentioned on line 16, how we're over by 21 so far for the year. We're gonna circle back to that later for new business. That's all. But we have a surplus right now we have a surplus, but we'll address that later.
So on the check register, I saw it and it should be 2655, somewhere about a third of the way down. Check 34957 was for the water district for the new water meter. That seemed odd to me, but sometimes there's certain things that you just say, it is the way it is or something, so. I don't think we saw anything else that was too out of the ordinary.
Do we have a motion to approve the check register?
I'll move.
Okay, Mike Would you like to second it, Matt?
Second.
Okay, perfect. Do we have any other questions for George or clarification? Okay, all in favor of approving the check register? Great, wonderful.
I won't go over anything specifically on the investment report, but we did, Colleen filed all the paperwork to eliminate the possibility of CDs crossing between NPT intrafi accounts and the LPL by limiting, the intrafi transactions to exclude anything on that list. We did add one new CD during the month, which will mature out a year. So I think they've done a good job of kind of taking the investments where we can and layering them out longer so that we can lock in the interest rates. And the intrafi account's still paying 3.5%. I think the CDs are paying between 3.7 and a little bit higher, but
3.25.
yeah,
They're still falling.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
It is all over to you, the directors and department heads reports.
Happy to do so. Thank you, Corey. So housekeeping business, I know I'm a broken record from last month, but as a reminder, we've been invited next week to the McCownville Neighborhood Association. So anyone who's a candidate for board this year, you are welcome to give your stump speech and talk about why you're a good candidate. And I am happy to speak on behalf of the library to discuss the budget, but if anybody would like to speak to the budget, George, if you want to come and do the show, welcome to do that as well. But of course, it was great last year. It's really a good opportunity for us to get in front of one of our communities. So it's good if as many of us who are able to come. It will be at 7 p.m. and I believe it's at the Hampton Inn on Western Avenue. It's at the same place it's always been. We are very far ahead of schedule with the budget, we were so far ahead of, I actually got confused. The budget is due to the school district at the same time as the final petitions for board candidacy. Both of those dates are 4/20, so I believe that's Monday. We've got the budget ready to go. We'll have the budget website stood up shortly thereafter, once we have all the final information in there. So we're doing well. Thank you to everyone for, again, getting us out so far ahead of that. I don't want to step on any of the committee reports that are going to come. So a shout out to Natalie, Allison, and the governance committee for all of their work on the handbook. The facilities committee is going to have a pretty robust report. However, the two things that I want to highlight that we didn't talk about in committee, Architectural Glass and Metal is the vendor who has done not only our skylights, but also the glass work in the building. So we had them on site a couple of weeks ago. There was and is a crack in one of the glass panes in the children's library. Great news, it's not going to shatter and it wasn't caused by impact, so it's not like something hit the glass. We're scheduling with Architectural Glass and Metal to replace that pane. When they replace it, they'll do a little forensic analysis just to determine if there's anything structurally wrong. So, it's obviously not great news, but could have been worse. That same rep talked to us about the skylight in the children's library. As we recall, it did leak severely during the cold over the winter. Our facilities manager came to the conclusion that he felt like there wasn't anything structurally wrong, that it was too cold and the ice would melt and then refreeze and then block the flow of water. But neither Jason or I are skylight experts, so we brought in Architectural Glass and Metal. They came to the same conclusion, not a structural issue. There's nothing wrong with the skylight. It was too cold this winter, essentially is the conclusion. So we will be, go ahead, Barbara.
Just a question on that cracked window.
Mhm.
It said it wasn't impact, so did they say why it decided to crack?
That's what they're hoping to learn when they actually analyze the piece. It could be that there was a flaw with that pane, like there's something wrong with the pane itself. So that we'll find out more, but they don't know yet. So we're going to install a heating mechanism on the skylight, and that's the conclusion that Jason had come to. So it's indicating that we hired someone who knew the right answer. And then last point I'll make before I dive into some things I wanted to highlight further in the report. Book sales coming up this weekend. Thank you so much to everyone who already volunteered. If you'd like to volunteer, we would love to have you. If anybody is free after the meeting tonight, Amy and I are going to start setting up in the Helderberg room, so we'd welcome any help after that. Diving further into the report, there's a couple of things that I thought were interesting that I wanted to shout out. On page 4 in Christina Ronald's report, she gave a pretty thorough explanation of some interesting things we're doing with our electronic resources. It's worth repeating because this has been true for years, ever since ebooks entered the library market. It just continues to be even more true as time goes on. If we buy a print copy of a book for $25, the ebook copy probably costs $50 or $75. The audiobook copy probably costs $90 to $120. Ebooks are just much more expensive than print books. So when we have a high demand in our ebooks and e-audio, we can't just buy more copies. We run out of money very quickly. So Emily Viscuso, who is one of our librarians, and Christina Ronald have been working on getting what are called advantage copies. Those are, we buy copies, they go to our patrons first before they become available to the rest of the Upper Hudson community. And it's really paying dividends. While our unique users are not growing as quickly as they used to, our checkouts are growing astronomically. This is what we want to see. This is books in hand, money being spent and going to our taxpayers and our community first. So I really want to shout out the work they're doing. I know it's like, I'm getting deep in the weeds of librarianship, but the upshot is they're doing something really important and really interesting. So kudos to both of them. Barbara,
Another question.
please.
Are we limited by the companies that these ebooks can only go out like 5 times, or what's the number now?
It depends. It's the short answer is yes. There is always a limit. The limit varies depending on the publisher, the title, a whole bunch of different things. The typical models are they go out 12 or 24 times and then we have to buy more copies, or we get unlimited checkouts for 2 years and then we have to buy more copies. But there is a baked in limit, and that's true for every library in America. It's terrible. It is something that I've advocated on a statewide level, changing. Not a lot of other states. Some other states are actually taking active measures to prevent this. Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey. New York hasn't taken this up yet, but it's something I'd really like to see on a professional level, like pushing back against that. On page 6, a couple of interesting things in our youth services department that I wanted to highlight. Allison Williams is one of our librarians. She's great, and she is supplementing our story times by doing American Sign Language accompaniment with some of our story times, and also doing specific monthly ASL story times. Really nice thing for the community that's deaf and hard of hearing, and just, you know, a nice way to talk about equity in our community. So huge shout out to Allison for that. And as I mentioned in one of our comment cards today, people really like our book clubs. We have something like 9, 10. And now we have My First Book Club, which is our book club designed for children. So, you know, we had 9 or 10 for adults. Now we've got one for kids. And I think that's awesome. And it's you know, Jocelyn is most known for her Sky Friends story time, and she's now branching out into book clubs. And so she just continues to astonish and amaze us. The last thing I'll point out is typically at the end of my report, there's a lengthy section on statistics that you'll notice is missing this month. Caroline and I are working on redoing how we present our statistics in a visual way. So we didn't get it pulled together for this month. There isn't a problem. All the stats are there. You'll see them next month, but be on the lookout for some changes, which hopefully good changes, things that'll make it a little easier to digest. I think that's everything else, say.
One thing I noticed, customer website interactions, 24,000 to 79,000.
Yes. I don't know what happened there. I'm talking to Sean about it. I don't think it's like a change in how people use our library. It could be some sort of weird anomaly happened, but I don't have an immediate answer. But yeah, I picked up on that too. That's weird.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Pete? Okey doke, on to the committee reports. Tony from Finance.
Yes, we did meet on Tuesday. What came out of that meeting was the first three things in the new business, allowing Pete to make some purchases, which we'll get to when we get to new business. But essentially that funding will come out of that line 16 on our statement of revenue and expenses, because we are, favorable 21,000 3/4 of the year through. So we assume it will be at least another 4,000 or 5,000 favorable at the end of the year. So we should be able to absorb much of that cost. Otherwise, in order to cover everything else, I think we're pretty much par for the course. I don't think we have anything else to. Okay.
Thank you. Alicia, is there anything for personnel or is that just for executive session?
There's executive session. I don't know if there is a general update from the last meeting that I wasn't able to attend on the 9th. Was it just we're making progress on
Pretty much on negotiation.
negotiations? So there you go. The rest is for executive.
Phil, facilities.
Not to steal Pete's thunder. We did meet last night or 2 nights ago to talk about the 2 contracts we got from BRM for the facilities study and then for the Skylight architect engineer. We did those in executive session because we were talking about terms of contracts. And so it was an exchange of views as to what we think about forms that we got and our view of the risk that we're entering into overall, what we want to get out of both of those. So it was an exchange that we had with some takeaways for Pete to go out and talk to BRM and our legal counsel to get better grounded in what we need to do. But just on the facility study, I think we're pretty close to getting that one done. We had asked them to break it into separate the pricing for the report that they were going to give, which they did, and they allocated half of it to the facility study and half of it to the space utilization study. But, as it stands, the document is a fairly shuffled scope of about 3 different scopes, and we prefer that they sort of unshuffle that scope into a standalone document for the facility study with either a separate agreement for the space utilization or do it as an option to the facility study agreement. But we need to follow BRM on that. I don't think it's going to take a huge amount of work. We should have something to move forward with next month at the meeting to get that one going. It's not a high risk document. It's just one that we all want to make sure that we get the right scope in it. The architect engineer for managing the Skylight, BRM's going to be doing that again for us. They've given us their terms, and we just sort of need to understand how those terms work for a library of about our size with this type of scope of work, and then get some views as to, what other libraries want to use, what did we use in a renovation project, just to get a comparison grounded as to how do we understand how that contract's going to work between us and the architect engineer and the contractor in the course of doing the Skylight repair, which, it's just one of those things when they rip the roof off. You want to make sure you have a good contract to get it through to completion. So we have more discussion to do on that one over the course of the next month. I would hope that we can get all that resolved for the next meeting as well. And so we'll have more details to share on that at that time. That's pretty much all for facilities at this point.
Okay. Governance, Mike, I know you wrote a report and you've got a couple things in new business. Is there anything else you'd like to cover right now?
No, not really. It's really just those things that are gonna come up in new business. So I guess I'll wait and talk about those when we get there.
Long range planning is trucking along. We've got some good information. Special shout out to not only the long range planning board members, but also Michelle, Christina, and Pete, who are coming in with a staff perspective that is invaluable. So. Bethany, board development. You've got it, or that's coming through governance.
That's coming through governance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else then?
No.
Okay.
I have a question on the board development. How are we tracking the hours? Because I feel like I still need to do mine too, and it's due by July. So
It's actually in a calendar year, right?
That's
something we're gonna discuss.
Oh, okay.
I read ahead once maybe, but
Okay.
Yeah, that made me.
Is that not right?
I was like, I'm not very.
Am I wrong?
It-
Okay, we'll get to that.
It's more complicated than.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is tracking, right? Yeah, so just email.
The short answer.
The short answer is Pete.
Perfect. Leash, did the foundation meet?
He did.
Oh,
I don't think they had a full quorum, and I don't think they voted on anything, but there was a lot of discussion about things, so let me know if I miss anything. They talked about the book sale. I think they want to bring treats or something for volunteers. I don't know if I think they
They are
are
doing
pulling the
that.
trigger on that.
Yep.
Perfect. So if you volunteer, something else to look forward to, other than just helping out your library. They did kind of want to dig into some information from the most recent Scholastic Fair. I don't think they had the answer for it, but to see how the voucher system had worked, which was something that the schools are trying to do with kids that could not afford books at the Scholastic Book Fair to try to make it a little more equitable, because they want to pitch in on that once they had some feedback and stats on how that went. So they're gonna maybe do that for the next Scholastic Book Fair cycle. They successfully have changed banks for their financial needs. They are looking into sponsoring more local authors coming to the library and sponsoring those visits. They had previously talked about a gala or fundraiser, which is shelved at the moment until they can get some more members, because it's really hard to execute with very limited numbers. So another call out, if you know anyone that would be a good foundation member, they are sorely needing more bodies for that, to be able to do some of those fundraising things. So their number one priority is still the membership numbers and getting those up and just trying to get that information out as much as they can. I think they're gonna try to do that at the book sale in some form. Are they gonna have a table?
They haven't committed to anything yet,
Okay.
and the Friends are gonna be doing the same thing at the book sale, so it might get a little.
Okay, we'll go
Complicated.
competitive.
Well, right, and we'd also agreed that if we found people who wanted to volunteer for the Friends, but who were a better fit for the foundation, we would redirect.
Redirect them, okay. So those are the overarching things that they discussed, but Pete, I don't know if there's anything
I think that was pretty
I
much it.
missed, but yeah. Nothing was voted on. They only had a few folks come.
okay. Upper Hudson Library System, I was unable to make the last meeting. However, I am coming to the end of my 5-year term of service on the Upper Hudson Library System Board. I, in my year of saying no, would like to pass this along to someone else. It is a 5-year commitment on the board. Guilderland automatically has a representative on the board as one of the largest libraries within the system. It doesn't have to be somebody that is currently serving on the board of directors. However, it's incredibly helpful if it is. I'm willing to entertain volunteers. This would start in July, or you can talk to me offline about what the service is like, and we can move on from there. So unless somebody wants to jump up and raise their hand now, you can. Otherwise, happy to connect and kind of talk you through what it means. It's a really important role to have, a relatively low lift. But yes, I would love to give the opportunity to someone else. Okay. Do we have any old business? Matt, there is one thing that had you agreed to sort of liaise with the newly formed Friends group? Am I remembering this correctly? No. Had someone talked to me about liaising with the newly formed Friends group? Okay, then never mind, that's not old business. Okay, well, also I would say that we should have someone liaising with the Friends from the board. I know that they're doing a lot of work with the staff, but it might be nice to have that opportunity to provide feedback. So in addition to thinking about being the Upper Hudson trustee, also think about if one of you might want to serve as a liaison.
We discussed liaising with the town and school boards.
That was it. So those will probably be 2 new positions that come up when we have assignments that come this summer. That was, apologies. Okay, old business. Pete, are you addressing the first three items or is that coming through finance? How are we approaching
It
that?
is coming through finance. I'm happy to start or Tony, if you would like to.
I mean, you can do the
background.
background, 5-year cycles, nice, yeah.
So as Tony outlined, we're running favorable on our IT expenses. I've been in conversation with Sean Silvernail, our head of IT, about what his plans were for the remainder of his budget. We're coming up on the end of a life cycle for a couple of our technology areas. One is one of our servers, one of the backbones of our internet service in the building is coming up on the end of its life cycle. So Sean has proposed replacing it rather than waiting until it breaks and then replacing it. The second item is we're coming on the end of our first level of service for our public access computers. So any of the PCs that you see the public using. What we like to do with those is when we replace PCs, the public gets the newest ones first. That way they're getting the highest level of service and quality and it's a benefit as taxpayers. We take the old PCs that were being used and those get repurposed as staff machines, catalog machines. So they get a second life. The old PCs also get a third life as they come on out of service, they get cannibalized. If we have to replace a monitor or a hard drive, the IT team has something to pull from. So it is kind of like, these get a lot of life, but we do only replace them every couple of years. So Sean has proposed replacing those as well. Both of those items exceed the director's authority in purchasing. The server replacement, we're looking at up to $11,000 as of the last quote. For the PC workstation replacement, we're looking at up to $17,000. My purchasing limit ends at $10,000. So those are the two kind of normal replacement things that we're looking at. And we have spent some time looking at Sean's budget and making sure that not only do those things fit in the IT budget, but also that all of his outstanding expenses for the rest of the year fit within his budget, which they do. So we're in good shape there. The third thing that we're proposing is an expansion of the cameras that are in our building. We have fairly comprehensive coverage of the reading room, the outside of the building, and the staff areas. Probably about once a week, we have to look at our camera footage to identify misconduct, strange things happening in the building, who did X, Y, and Z. So it is invaluable to us that we have this camera coverage. When we did the expansion of the library, we created the children's library. We did not put cameras over there. So there is a large blind spot in the building we would like to see resolved. There are also several blind spots in this side of the building, including the Helderberg room and our public meeting rooms. We just don't have comprehensive coverage. So Sean has done a lot of work looking into what it would cost to do this camera expansion. We've gotten our most recent price quote at $22,261, so up to $23,000. That would include the cameras themselves, the wiring, and the physical labor of actually setting them up. And then any software that has to go with making sure that all the cameras are connected. Sean and I did have a conversation about could we reduce this cost by doing it in phases, break it up, do some cameras, then do some other cameras another time. He said that would actually make the cost worse because we'd have to bring in workers to do the wiring, all of that work repeatedly. So it does make the most financial sense to do it all at once. And then Tony and George, I'll turn it over to you for this last part, but we had a fairly robust discussion about which budget line the camera replacement should come out of, whether it's technology, whether it's capital improvements. The short answer is we have the money available to us to spend. It's just a matter of where we want to draw from. That.
So, I guess just as a reminder, then if we do look at line 16, so our budget for last year and actually next year proposed is 100,000. So we've only spent so far 53, 54-ish. We expected to spend up to 75 by this point in the year. So that's why we're still positive, favorable at 21,000. So by the end of the year, we'll use some of that, but we'll probably add another, 20 years out to it. So we do have the money, like people saying, allocated to it. We did have a pretty good discussion in finance committee and there was no pushback. So we did end up coming out with the motions to move forward to have the authorized Pete to spend. The true costs were like 10.5, 16.5, and 22.3. But we're gonna just give them a little bit of a buffer zone to go up to 11, 17, and 23K, just in case there's something, in case he needs to go above it, that's all. So our total, we're looking at what, 57-ish, 58 maybe?
57,000.
Plus 19, yeah. And if we round that up a little bit with another extra 500 for each one of those, so we're looking at maybe 58,000. I don't know, are there any questions about any of that, or, and going next year, like I said, we still have 100,000 budgeted for, if it gets approved, for 26, 27.
Is the intention to put cameras in all of the study rooms?
No. So it would be, we'd want coverage of people going in and out of the study rooms, but not in the study rooms themselves.
We had the cameras coming out of the capital improvement budget, right?
Yeah, I think that's what we said. Pete, is it really 57,
No,
whatever?
it should be.
That includes
More
the
like
6,300.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you're
It's like
right.
It's 51.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that,
I was reading the wrong line.
Yeah.
Barbara has a question.
We've talked many, many times about a directional camera for board meetings, because the main complaint that I hear from the public is that they see the swath of people around the table and they can maybe hear, but they can't see the people. And it doesn't necessarily pick up if, you know, Corey speaking or Alicia speaking. Have we actually ever looked into that?
So we have one. We have a directional camera that sits in the center of a table. We've experimented with it as a staff, trying to simulate a board meeting. It doesn't work super great. Compared to some of these other costs, I bet you that falls well below the discretionary limit. So if we all wanna like take a meeting where we get silly with it and experiment with one of these cameras, that's certainly something we can do.
The only thing is that, you know, technology has increased so rapidly and so much better than those original ones. That at some point, I'd just love us to make that available to the public.
No, I mean, that's certainly something we can experiment with.
The proposal to vote on each of these separately?
Yes,
Okay,
in case, yeah.
in case one of them,
Yes.
okay. Perfect. So I will read the first one and ask for a motion, and then we can ask any additional.
There's motions coming out of committee for all of these, so all we need is a second.
Okay, thank you. So the first is to approve the director exceeding the $10,000 purchasing limit for the purchase of buying a new server, expected at $11,000. Is there a second? That comes from Joe, I saw first. Any additional questions about this?
What brand it is?
That I don't know. That's above my pay grade.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The second is to approve the director exceeding the $10,000 purchasing limit for the purpose of replacing public computer stations, estimated around $17,000. Do I have a second? I saw Matt first. Any questions about that piece? All in favor?
Hi.
We are looking for a second to approve the director exceeding the $10,000 purchasing limit for the purpose of expanding the library's camera system, estimated at $23,000. Bill, hey, thank
And I had to like take a trip to Tombstone. Practice on my boss.
Is there, are there any questions about the camera system? All in favor? Wonderful. It's all passed. Okay, is governance talking about these next three or?
I can, sure.
Okay.
All right, so we have three things that the committee is bringing to full board for a vote. First is a revised employee handbook, and the library, I think it was Allison and Natalie that did the heavy lifting on this, but then the committee, had some revisions and feedback and everything. But this is the first update of the employee handbook in, I think, 10 years. The hope is to make it a more regular process going forward and more frequently kind of update and keep it updated. But this is a complete overhaul of the handbook because it's been so long. Everybody has received a copy of it. If there's any specific questions, then hopefully someone will be able to address them depending what they are. But we did go through it pretty substantially and had a lot of feedback and comments, got a lot of questions answered and everything. So I think the committee was happy with this version of it. But there is a motion from the committee to adopt this revised handbook.
I would take a second if there is one. Bethany. Do we have questions for Mike, Pete, anyone else that might know an answer?
You said Allison did review it, like once it was all said and done?
Yeah, she was I think the primary
author.
main person doing it. So all of our edits and things went through her before they got incorporated into it. So yes.
Okay, and is the expectation, once this is all approved, that all employees are gonna officially sign it? Okay.
Any other questions? Please pass along our thanks for all the work that went into that. It's a lot. Okay, we have a second. So all in favor of approving the revised employee handbook?
Aye.
Wonderful, unanimous. Photo and videos policy.
Yes, so the next two policies are new policies. These are not things that we currently have. The photo and video policy, that you received in the packet. But it's basically just stating, putting people on notice that, when there's library events or they're in the library and there may be photography or videos that's used for our social media or used on the website or whatever, letting people know that that's the case. And also there's a statement about, the public's right to take pictures or video, which that, had some back and forth with our legal counsel to make sure that we're kind of compliant with our obligations under the First Amendment and such. But that's the basic idea, is just to kind of lay out so people have notice of what our policies are with respect to that. So again, there is a motion from the committee for the board to adopt this as a new policy.
Do we have a second to approve the new photos video policy? Joe's hand. I'll take a leash. I don't think she's gotten one yet.
Mary doesn't matter anymore.
Any other questions about that? Okay, all in favor of approving the photos and video policy?
Aye.
Unanimous again. Trustee education policy.
All right, and this is a policy that initially came to us out of the Board Development Committee to the Governance Committee, and then we had, a little bit of some little edits here and there. Just addressing the one issue that came up earlier is we have drafted this to have the requirements of the education hours follow our library operating year, the fiscal year of the July to June year, rather than the calendar year, because we thought for new trustees coming on and people going off, it made more sense to align it with when people are on and off the boards. To be completely candid, there's a slight ambiguity because the statute just says annually. It doesn't define what, that it has to be calendar year or how it's based or whatever. There are other libraries in the state and guidance from some consortium of libraries out in Western New York that have recommended people doing it according to your operating year, because just makes more sense that way. There's no official guidance that we could get. I reached out to the library system to ask a lawyer thing to try and get an opinion on that, but they didn't get back to me. They were supposed to by now, but they didn't. But we don't have any reason to believe it's not permissible to do it by the term year. It was ambiguous the way the law was phrased. And we thought it made more sense just to align it that way. So going forward, it would be that way. And it does mean for the current year, people haven't finished hours, we might want to just try and line something up in the next 2 months so that we can get those hours in before the end of July, just so we're starting, or the end of June, so we're on track, to begin with for next year, again, there's a motion from the committee to adopt this.
Is there a second? Barbara? I have one question about it, which is it comfortable for the staff to have it be on our year when the reporting that goes out that we do that requires us to file this as calendar?
But
Is it not?
in your report, most things are based fiscal year.
Oh, it is?
Certain-
Okay.
It doesn't, it's not consistent throughout the whole report.
Okay,
So
Yeah, we might-
we did discuss this because
yeah, I'm sorry.
No. It's a lot of the stuff in the annual report is reported on the fiscal year, so it does kind of fit with that. However, the current form for reporting the hours does refer to the calendar year, like the form that this
And I think it's
provided for
because
the
it went
reporting.
into effect on January 1st.
But there is it's the area where you can include comments or explanations or whatever, so we can explain that we have adopted a fiscal year thing on that, and
Enough for me.
Natalie seemed to think that it was fine, and so.
I'm done. No more questions.
No, it's good. These are good questions. Good questions. Good to clarify them. Yeah.
And so I can go gather this information.
So, yeah,
That's directly in the statute. It puts the,
we tried, me and Pete tried to change that to
Mhm.
designate,
and it's just,
You know what? I just
Like,
create a form. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
create a
Yeah.
form.
for whatever reason, it specifically identifies the
Okay.
president as the person who is supposed to be collecting all of this information.
I will
So-
report back on the form that you're gonna fill out. Tell me what you did.
All right.
Okay, other questions, not for me.
And really quickly, talking about lining things up for the next 2 months. Some of you who are new members should have gotten your core trustee training, which is 2 hours that takes care of you. The on-demand training from Upper Hudson Library System is probably the fastest way to get group training. uhls.org/trustee-training. I will send this
it's
to
in
all
the
of you.
policy.
Oh, thank you. It's in the policy, so you don't have to remember what I just said. But yeah, there's a list of available on-demand trainings that they can do. So last year, what we did is we just kind of took a straw poll. We're like, what's everyone think is most valuable to learn this year? I feel like we did long-range planning last year, maybe.
Yes.
Because that was good timing. We worked that out perfectly. But not all of them are 2 hours, so it might be a situation where we have to line up 2 or more of these, depending on what everyone's interested in. So that would be my recommendation, is to use this as a quick way to be like, what could we do in the next couple of months?
I also recommend, just because I've done theirs, but then they have like a backlog of them, the MVLS, the Mohawk Valley Library System, they do the core trustee, or they do the handbook series. I can find the link and send them. They're also pretty good. There are sections of the trustee handbook in a not as boring as it sounds like way. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of approving the new trustee education policy? Fantastic. Has any public input come in since we started the meeting? Wonderful. Do we have any board comments?
I will say that I heavily encourage people to come show up for the Pride Parade. So it was a good time, and we always need some trustee representation, so.
Sure. Yes, if anybody would like to participate in the Pride Parade, you should have gotten an email from me earlier this week, but I need to know by the end of tonight what size shirt you wear, if you would like a shirt. So,
Albany Parade?
Yeah.
The Albany Parade?
yes. Yeah. So yeah, feel free to get with me after the meeting and just let me know you're coming and what size shirt you need. Yes.
And then any other board comments? I apologize, I don't have the language in front of me, though. I feel like maybe over here Mike knows what it is, but we do have need for an executive session, and it's to discuss a personnel matter related to a specific individual, right? I think that's what okay. Wonderful. So do I have a motion to move into executive session? Joe, do I have a second? Matt? All in favor? Okay, we are moving into executive session. So we're gonna wait for just a moment because we need to stop the videoing. Stop the stream.